You deserve to have the best physical, mental, spiritual. Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. I am your host, and just happy to be alive, man. I've had some really good days this last week or so. Been busy watching soccer of all sports. I played as a kid, but wasn't the best athlete in the world, and I enjoyed soccer. The one thing I did not like about soccer, because I have no endurance whatsoever, is clearly the running, which there's a lot of running in soccer, and I just after high school, I wasn't upset that I was done playing soccer because I had already given my decision to play football clearly, and it worked out because I was obviously made it in the NFL as a kicker. But that stemmed from soccer, so I definitely have a passion for watching soccer. This year's been really intense. These guys they get better every I would say every year, but every World Cup. Like when I see these guys play, it's like, man, these guys are incredibly aggressive. And the referees are kind of letting the game go, and so that's kind of cool. But I wouldn't have that much patience on the field. Somebody tripped me back in the day when I was playing, and I got upset. Way too easy. So I don't know, but maybe at my older age I probably would, but I would definitely not want to play soccer right now at my ripe old age of 54, unless it's just like messing around. But even then, I'd probably be a little tired. I work out, so we talk about the different ways we work out. And you have the lifting and the boxing, and I can say boxing is more cardio, but it's not soccer cardio. Like you got to be running on the field to be in shape for soccer. So I really give a lot of credit and respect to these soccer players that are out there just running like incredibly fast for 90 minutes. It's unbelievable how what kind of shape these guys are in, and it took a lot of hard work and dedication and commitment. And so today we're going to talk about commitment, accountability, and just kind of understanding your personal growth and how you as a person, how that fits in with being committed to a team and having teamwork. And I think that it's fitting because of soccer and everything, but in real life, it is really that way as well. And I kind of did some research on some quotes, and I've got a couple quotes I'm going to read to you guys, probably three of them or so, that I'll read once we get back from our quick commercial break. But it really opened my eyes to some things, and really kind of it really portrayed what I think anyways. They weren't my quotes. I promise you, I'm not going to take somebody's quotes and put my name under it, but I can promise you these are very eye-opening, and you kind of understand, well, you have to have a commitment to others, for yourself first. And so that's another big thing. And so I'm huge on, personal development, making sure that you're taking care of yourself. Clearly with this platform, Zealous Wellness, it's all about taking care of yourself. But in order for us to be accountable and be beneficial to a team, whether it's your job, you're working on a project as a team, you have to take care of yourself first so you can help others in that team concept. And so some of those quotes are really eye-opening when it comes to just kind of the thought process of what really takes to be a better person. And in that case, you will be a better person for your team and accountable for your team, and the commitments. That's a big one for me. Believe me, I used to, I was always, and I say I used to, but I still am. I try to say no. Being a former player, we get things, tossed at us all the time. And I'm always wanting to help out when I can, but I get to a position sometimes I'm actually doing the opposite. I'm helping others more than myself. I'm losing time for myself because I've committed my time to others just because I just want to. But I'm pretty solid to myself, so I have no problems helping others and in ways that I can help. So that's definitely a big deal for me. And, that gives me personal satisfaction as well. Not only like obviously being a coach for almost 20 years and seeing the success from the kids that I worked with, that's a huge one for me. But that's self-satisfying when you understand that you've helped somebody and you see that they're appreciative of your help. That's kind of the same thing as when you get involved in the team aspect, and you've made a commitment to help a team, and you're holding yourself accountable because you've made that commitment, and you don't want to let the people down. So I think it's a process of life. I think you have to get used to it. I think there are a lot of people out there that make commitments without really following through with them. Now there are things that pop up. Yeah, I understand that. But in all reality, we want to really make sure that we're staying true to our commitments. I learned that really early on in life. And it helped me become a better person as a kicker too, with regards to just getting out there kicking. And my coach and I, my kicking coach and I, we were just at a camp, NFL alumni camp this recently on Saturday morning. I had to coach privately at 6 a.m. prior to the camp starting at 8, I think. So I had to be down there at the school. And anyways, Jim, my coach, was talking, and he was like, "Oh, back in the day when we were working out, and he's bringing up stories and memories of us kicking in Spokane, Washington during the wintertime when there was snow on the ground. But we got to know a guy that had a bubble dome. It was a golf driving range type of thing. It was an air bubble. Field bubble that basically was held up by air pressure. And so we went in there 6 a.m. before the opening of the business, and made a deal with the guy, of course, and said, "Hey, listen, we'll pick up all the balls from the night before on the turf out there if we can get a good hour or so to kick inside, because we just didn't want to kick outside in the snow." So those are commitments you have to make. I clearly understood that I wanted to be a better kicker, and I had to pay some prices for that, but that's okay. It works out. So with that said, we'll take a quick commercial break, and we get back. We'll get right into some quotes about commitment and personal development.
It is possible. It's different this time. I'm showing up for myself. Because now I know that weight isn't about effort alone. It's not just calories in, calories out. For years, the world told us it was simple. Eat less, move more, try harder. But science has shown us it's more complex than that. It's a real metabolic condition. That's where GLP-3 comes in. Powered by MBC 267, a naturally derived peptide complex discovered in salmon from the Norwegian Sea and select mushrooms. GLP-3 works with the body's own system to help manage appetite and support metabolic balance. No fighting your body, no forced outcomes, just support where it actually matters. Because when you address the real factors at play, progress feels possible. I'm becoming the best version of myself. This is me and GLP-3.
And welcome back. So as promised, I was going to just read a couple quotes for you guys to kind of give, shed some light on what others kind of say, and what kind of, things that are floating around out there that people have experienced for themselves. This first quote is, the last one's actually one of my favorite, but I'll go to the first one first. It says, "Your self-worth should never depend on being better than your teammates. It should come from knowing you gave your best, honored your commitments, and contributed to something greater than yourself." That's what I was talking about earlier about, you have to, take care of yourself first, but then you're able to contribute to something greater than yourself at that point. So that there's a certain process. I think it'd be very difficult, I believe, to be a part of a team and feel like you're committing and helping and doing a lot of good for your team if you really doubt yourself. Because part of your team, being, teamwork and being part of a team and being accountable to your teammates is actually knowing what you're doing and having confidence in what you're doing. And if you don't have that self-confidence because of, some things in the past that you may have drawn a negative outlook on yourself or whatever, you've just lost confidence in yourself, it'd be kind of difficult to be confident for a team. So that's a good one as well. So the next one is the commitment you make to your fitness, nutrition, health, and daily habits is the same commitment your teammates rely on. Okay, I'm going to repeat that for you. The commitment you make for your fitness, nutrition, health, and daily habits is the same commitment your teammates rely on. Personal discipline becomes team accountability. Love it. Personal discipline becomes team accountability. Basically, everything I just got done saying, right? So I think it's really eye-opening. Where, man, you got to be very disciplined as a person to be as effective as you can be for, with the team. And when I'm referring to team, yes, obviously soccer, that's kind of where this all stemmed from. I wanted to talk about what I was feeling with soccer and watching and kind of thinking about some themes in subjects I can talk about on these shows. And it was dawned on me one day, last week, actually, I was watching a game, and it's like, man, these guys are so good. They're passing the ball. They know where they're at. And it's incredible to see. Again, these guys don't have a lot of time because they come from different teams within the professional sports world to together on one team to represent a certain country, right? Just like hockey does too. So you kind of understand that, you don't have a lot of time to work with these teams, but you develop some patterns with your own process of being on those other teams in soccer, and you kind of understand and you think about like the wide receiver and the quarterback, how they kind of can read their own minds. Like the quarterback knows exactly. He feels confident. Mark Brunell felt real confident going to Jimmy Smith because he always knew that Jimmy Smith would be open at some point, and the speed that Jimmy had. And Mark, was never afraid to overthrow Jimmy because of his speed. So just things like that, so it really comes down to, having the best ability to reach out and understand and learn from your teammates where, again, the soccer example, where they're going to be. Obviously with soccer, you're always looking up, but there's always some things that you don't necessarily know, but you might know there's someone behind you, but you don't really know. You're calling out, guys are saying man on. So that it's a team concept. But again, you as an individual have to contribute to yourself and also with the team, of course. And I think, back with kicking in football, I always say, when I was playing, of course, and I tell my athletes this as well, is like, as a kicker on the team, we're pretty individualized. Okay. Yes, we have the operation with the snapper and the holder. Yes, protection is a bunch of guys, but you got the snapper, holder, kicker. Yeah, those are three main people in your specific operation. Now, if you get into the kickoff specifically and your job, more specifically to kick the football, not necessarily make tackles, but you are against you. And even if my kickers are going into competition with other guys in college, high school even, I always remind them, it's you against you. You have to do as good as you physically can. If you do the best that you possibly ever can, and the guy that you're competing against does better than you, you have to give him credit. You have to accept it, and that just makes you work a little harder and so forth. And, again, that's the drive. When I was trying to get into, college, even from high school, being as short as I was really, and still am, but that was challenging because nobody wanted me. And so I didn't give up because of that. I knew my worth. And that's my point too, is like, if you understand how good your worth is, and you know that you're worthy of playing a sport at a certain level, then why not? Go for it, right? So the next one, this is the best one here for me. It all kind of encompasses everything I've already talked about, but this is what it says. It says, you cannot consistently give to a team what you have not first developed within yourself. Self-discipline is your fitness, nutrition, recovery, and character is what makes true accountability to others possible. I'm sorry, I misread that. Discipline in your fitness, nutrition, recovery, and character is what makes true accountability to others possible. So when you're finding your self-worth, when you're being consistent with yourself and doing the best you can for yourself, that's when your team can, I don't say take advantage of that, but yes, take advantage of that, because the fact that you are good with yourself, you've been preparing. That's another good thing too. I read that in another quote that I didn't even save, but when you prepare, that's another good hint or tip when it comes to sports at whatever level you're at. The best athletes out there, and again, one of the things I wanted to point out too is you don't always have to be the best athlete. You have to be accountable, and you have to be a team player, commitment, those kind of things. But my point is really, when you're good for yourself, when you've earned that accountability and hard, with all the hard work you've done, you have this ability to shine for the team. You can stand out. And again, one of my big things is kind of a pet peeve of mine when I run across any athlete that kind of thinks they're better than the rest, or the cocky ones that just, they have the attitude that they're really, really good. I don't like people like that. I understand it's part of their game, I guess, but I just didn't get that. I've never been that way. I've always been very humble and appreciative, and just, I didn't want to get caught up into being too cocky and then make a mistake. That looks terrible, right? Anybody out there have ever, you've been so overconfident about something, and then you screw up, and then now everyone's going to make fun of you because you screwed up, and oh, well, you told me you were going to do this and you didn't, right? So that's the accountability part. That falls under the accountability label. I think that, when you're prepared and you know what you're doing and you're not overconfident or cocky about it, you're humble about it, because we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. So be prepared. As cocky as you are, you're going to make mistakes. As humble as you are, you're going to make mistakes. But the difference is, how are you going to react after making a mistake when you're really cocky? It's embarrassing, I'm sure. I don't even know, because I don't think I'm a cocky person. I've never acted that way because of the fear of what people will think if I screw up. And that's the honest truth. I'm very transparent. I tell my athletes, on a side note, if you miss a kick, if you don't know what really happened, you come up with your best. And again, it's not an excuse. It's a reason why you missed. And it's almost like, on a windy day or the footing's bad or whatever, and you miss the kick. You can kind of justify it, like, oh man, that footing was horrible. I did the best I could. So it kind of makes you not panic in a way. And so I think that when you're relying on these athletic abilities that you've developed over time, and again, to help your team, to be a team player, to commit to your team and be the best you, to help your team win games and do the best you can. And even when you look at your health and wellness and fitness, you have maybe a health coach, maybe like myself. You have to be accountable to me. You have a fitness coach. I'm not necessarily a fitness coach, but I could definitely help you out. You have to be accountable to them too. There's the back and forth, and the coach got to be accountable to you. You got to be accountable to them. And so there's teamwork there, right? So anything you think about when it comes to your natural health and wellness and well-being, maybe it's some mental stuff, maybe you're dealing with some mental struggles, and you're having, if someone's going to help you do that, you gotta put the time in and work. If you're seeing a professional about your mental issues, whatever it could be, those are the people that are professionals, and they know how to kind of, deal with your situation. And I think that you have to respect that, and be accountable to them. You can't cut corners. Yes, I've cut corners, not necessarily on that kind of stuff, but with regards to like physical therapy, I got a bad shoulder and I go see somebody. Oh, you got to do these exercises, and I come home and I don't do them. Right. It's like, man, my shoulder, it's okay. So it's not too bad, but I know that I have to do a better job of committing to what I say I was going to do. And it's for my own benefit anyways. You understand that too. So we all, understanding life in general and how to deal and cope with certain situations. If you are prepared and you're confident, not overconfident and cocky, but confident because of your preparation, and your knowledge too. That's another big deal too, is you understand yourself, you understand what you've done in the past, you understand what your abilities are. That was one of the biggest things that made me work so hard to get to the NFL, because these coaches, and even college for that matter, from high school to college, these coaches that overlooked me, they clearly didn't know my value. I knew my value, and that upset me that these coaches didn't know my value, because they thought, well, he's just too short. We don't even want to look at him anyways. Well, those coaches that passed on me in college are now looking back and, wow, that guy played in the NFL. Wow, good for him. I could have been your kicker, bud. I can give you examples, but with Washington State University is one of them, because their head coach, his son was a kicker on the team, and I'm like, yeah, of course I'm not going to win the job there, because he's the coach is going to go with the son, which he was a good kicker, so he deserved it. But anyway, so going back to my point, with regards to just self-worth, teamwork, accountability, we all as individuals, again, there's a lot of struggles in life, and we deal with things. I think God put us on this earth to experience everything, and not in a bad way or not in a great way or whatever. We, yes, experience love, excitement, joy, happiness, all that. Yes, sin is involved, and we have negative feelings on ourselves and life. And, we poo-poo ourselves sometimes. We get upset that we didn't accomplish something and all that. Well, I'm here to tell you clearly, as a former kicker, you're not going to look back on the field goal you just missed. That would be ridiculous. Don't do that. You got to just, learn from the mistake, whatever, if you knew what was wrong. And again, you've prepared yourself for these situations. And again, in time that you've done things over and over and over again, and maybe become pretty habitual with them, some things, some negative things will happen, but you have to deal with it. And that's all about how you deal with it. They say, everyone's going to fall off the horse sometime. Well, it's how you get back on the horse and keep going. How do you do that? Where's your mind when it comes to failure? And so I think a lot of people get discouraged. And I think if you understand confidence and understand a process and a plan in anything in life. Now, I always revert back to kicking because there's clearly lots of processes and plans and work and dedication, all that kind of stuff, little detailed things too, which makes it even harder. But with regards to just everyday life, things that you're doing, primarily for yourself, and it's not to win or lose a game. You're just trying to lose some weight and of course, that's not going to happen overnight either. So it's a process that you have to get good at and understand that eventually these things are starting to kind of, you're going to start to see results if you put in the work. That's a big thing for a lot of people, is that they don't understand that these kind of things, losing weight or whatever, it takes time. I always tell people, it's like, how long did it take you to put on this weight? Well, man, I've been putting on some weights for like 5 years or so. It's been a while. And eventually I just woke up one day and said, man, I'm kind of heavy. Well, I'm not going to say it's going to take 5 years to get rid of all the weight that you put on, but it's going to take some time. So just the time that it took you to put it on, it's going to take some time to get it off. And again, I think it's easy to put weight on, especially with our foods, the way we are as a society these days. I think they put a lot of junk in our food, addictive things in our food. I think that the processing, that all the foods that are processed have just caused all kinds of diseases. That's a whole nother episode. It's discouraging. It really is, because I'm learning as I get older that our government really, really does not care about us. It's all about the mighty dollar. Again, I'll get sidetracked if I keep going on that subject, but I just want to say that, we are accountable for ourselves and we make our own choices. We are responsible for what we put in our bodies. We are responsible for moving and getting, some work in and movement in and working out and being fitness, being involved in fitness and having, the ability to maintain a normal lifestyle. When you get too sedentary and you sit and that's really what's happened is I think, because our foods have become so addictive and they taste good. Don't get me wrong. I've had some very good processed foods. And yes, clearly they're very, very good for a reason, because they want you to buy more and more and more and get sicker and sicker and sicker, so the big pharma can step in and be your hero. So you can just take a pill for all the stuff that you have developed over time. Now, that's another thing too that takes time. You think about the weight that you put on. Well, think about your health in that same process. Well, you've got worse health over time. So getting better health over time is clearly going to take some time to do. So you have to really be patient. That's one thing that a lot of people don't have in regards to, especially if you understand what kind of person you are as an athlete and a competitor. Those are kind of, I'll say, the worst when it comes to being patient about stuff, because athletes, we kind of, again, I'm not even going to put myself on the top level of being athletic, because I never was incredibly athletic. I was good at kicking a football, called me an athlete at that point. But as far as just general overall athleticism, I was never the best. I was never even close to the best. I was good, but I was never the best. So I understand that as an athlete, if I can do things, again, it takes some time, but if I can get good at doing a certain skill, I kind of learned this process, and I don't personally, I have patience. I understand. I'm a realist. I get it. Take golf, for example. I am the one kicker in the world that's supposed to, all the kickers are supposed to be really good at golf, right? You always hear that, like, oh, you kickers, you don't even go to practice. You go to the golf course. Yeah, that's true in some cases. I never did. Especially never playing under Tom Coughlin, I never did. But my point is that we have the stigma of being, not really negative stigma, but because of kicking, it's kind of similar to golf. Plus, we have a lot of time on our hands, so we can go out and play some golf. Well, I'm that one guy. I'm that exception that is not a good golfer. Now, I always said my back was my excuse, but in reality, I just sucked at golf. I'm very impatient with golf. I can hit a good ball once in a while, and then most of them, it's frustrating. And that's why, it's kind of why I don't Well, my back is probably the main reason why, because I've had 4 back surgeries, and I don't do really well with twisting too much. So I don't play golf, primarily because of my back, but also because I'm not very good, and I just don't want to commit to golf and getting better. I understand if I did, and I'd probably have some fun doing it, but I just think as athletes, I think sometimes we can get a little overwhelmed or frustrated because we can't do something, because, hey, we're athletic, we should be able to do everything, right? We're men. That's another one that I can't stand. People say, oh, you're plus an NFL athlete, you're a man and you're a former NFL athlete, you've got everything taken care of. I'm like, oh, no, I don't. That's the reality of my situation, of me in general. Like, I hadn't had anything figured out, man. When I retired from the NFL, I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. I didn't prepare well at all. And so I've lived the last 30 years of just trying to, or 20 years after retirement, 22 years now, I guess, of, maybe more than that, 23. I'm bad at math. But my point is that, after all this time, I still am dabbling with things, still trying to kind of, I know where my passions are, but I want to get a little bit more narrow with my passions. I want to be more targeted with my passions. And because I'm always saying yes to things, I'm always open-minded, I spread myself a little thin. That is something I've got to work on. I've got to learn to say no and understand that I'm only capable of knowing. I'd like to know a lot about a little. I'd like to know a little about a lot of things, but I think you can get to a point where it's just too much. And so time commitment becomes an issue then at that point. Plus, if you're committing to doing events and things like that with organizations, then you're losing out on that time as well. So there's a lot of things. Again, going back to the whole point of this episode about being accountable and being a teammate and a team player, it starts within here first. And I'm here just throwing up on you guys about all my faults, because I want to acknowledge them. I want them to be, for myself clearly, and just to prove to you guys that we are human too. We did something for a little while as far as former, pro athletes at whatever sport it might be. It's pretty cool that we were able to do that, but we put in the work and we were able to do that when we were younger. Now we're older. Now that's the physical part of it. Like, well, yeah, I had the physical abilities to do those things. I don't want to say that I don't anymore, because I still do, but not at the level I did when I played. But I know there's a lot of people in life that after they're done with their sport or whatever it is they do, they kind of just coast and take a seat and kind of slow down quite a bit. So again, everyday life is precious. I think that there's a lot of things that we need to experience in life, and if you're not outgoing and exploring different opportunities and just broadening your horizon, opening up your mind to certain things. And then, of course, knowing how to deal with them. When I look back at people's general health, I mean, it had to start somewhere. Somebody started somewhere where their health started to decline. And I'm putting a finger on it, saying that it's probably their mentality when it comes to, I've been in shape before. It's no big deal. It's not going to happen to me. I can eat this stuff. I'll just work out a little bit more. And then you kind of get lazy, and then you forget to wear. And it's a cycle. It starts to start, like the ball starting to roll down the hill. It's all downhill. It's like, man, you once you get into that, and I experienced it too. My firsthand experience of going through my divorce, of course. And the last thing I wanted to do was work out. I had no motivation. It sucked. It was bad. And I paid for it. But again, live and learn. You understand, you're living and learning, and you're experimenting, and life is an experiment, in my opinion. Yes, there are professionals out there that will show you the ropes. I was always kind of one that tried to kind of figure things out on my own. Again, that's a little bit of stubbornness that I think is another fault of mine. I'm kind of stubborn, not to a point where, like I was saying, a competitor and like, oh, I'm so stubborn. If I can't get it, I'm going to be mad. Golf maybe frustrate me, but after a while, it's like, you just have to laugh about it. But I don't want to be in a situation ever where I'm so focused on being good at everything and not happy if I'm not. And that's something that I think that a lot of people have to watch out for, especially people who are competitive. When you get into the situations where you've had some drawbacks or some negative things happen to you, you have to deal with them in a positive way. And I think that there's some people that Especially if you're on a team and working with people in general, that comes back to that accountability. If you're not accountable to yourself in your everyday life, it'd be very difficult to be accountable for others in a team aspect. So you have to watch out for that. You have to be aware of that. And unfortunately, people sometimes are not aware of that, whether they know it or not. I think that, because of the routines they get into and kind of the mentality of how they were raised too has a lot to do with it. If you were spoiled as a child, when you become an adult, you're going to be, your eyes are going to be open like, wow, why is this person? And you're going to get mad because people get mad at you or something. You're going to run into situations that you've never experienced before. Discipline things, things that your parents, if they were, too lenient on you and they didn't discipline you and teach you, right and wrong. And, if you do this is the consequence, then you're going to go through life thinking that you can do whatever you want. And that's a rude awakening, because we all know that that's not the case. When you start adulting, which I had a conversation this morning with one of my athletes about having to adult. I asked him how was life living alone or by himself, actually, after living with his parents and went off to college. So life changes. There's a lot of little things that we experiment through life. And you think about like parents, like mothers, especially being accountable. Like when you have a child as a mother and father, clearly, you now have responsibilities. Now your life. And I remember when my firstborn, Mason, when he was born, like one day, he's in the belly of his mom. We're walking around, we're doing our thing. And then the next day, he's out of the belly and in my arms. And okay, now we got to carry him there over here. Now we got to make sure the baby bottle. It was a night and day, like, whoa. And again, I was pretty young too. We had Mason when we were 23 years old. So I was a 23-year-old with a newborn baby. And it was challenging, but and again, trying to make it in the NFL. I hadn't even really made it yet. I got on the Jaguars. I hadn't made the team yet when Mason was born. But that was a very cool experience. So I always appreciate, those kind of things. But with those kind of things also comes responsibility. And so if you're not prepared for it, going back to that preparation, I think preparation of anything in life makes things so much easier. You're able to kind of recognize, that's another thing too, is when you get in situations, you're able to recognize things because you've gone through them before. So and even if you haven't gone through that exact thing, you've prepared around it, so it's not like you're oblivious to it. So I think just in general life, in order for you, in closing statements here, in order for you to be happy and satisfied with your own self, I think it starts with your self-worth, finding what that is, and taking care of yourself. That's the whole concept behind all this, is taking care of yourself so that you can help others and be accountable for a team and do the things that others are asking you to do and trying to be accountable for you as well. And so I think that there's a lot of positive things that come from the ability that we have and have learned to be accountable for ourselves and others. And that helps the team quite a bit. I mean, if you understand and you've prepared and you understand the quality of your life and understanding how you are as a person and moving forward. And again, I think we've been put on this earth, me specifically, and clearly many others. I don't know how everybody in the world believes, but I believe that we were put on this earth to help others. Not necessarily as a priority, like that's all we have to do, because we'll forget about ourselves if we have to help others without helping ourselves first. But it does come down to helping yourself first before you can actually apply yourself to others and be accountable and be a good teammate to others. So with that said, I hope you guys have an amazing Monday night. USA plays soccer on Friday at 3:00 Eastern time. So tune in for that game. That would be a good one. And I hope to see you guys next Monday night at 5:30 on Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Have a good night. Love you all.
Thank you for watching Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis.
Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.